We talked about Megadeth's new song and how they kind of have a chip on their shoulder after Super Collider. Now for a band that actually removed the chip from their shoulder with their last album. That's Children of Bodom with Halo of Blood a couple of years ago rather. Really removed that chip on the shoulder that they had from a lot of the fan base that maybe felt that some of the previous albums were a little less than inspired. So we now have I Worship Chaos, which is a name that doesn't exactly... It doesn't really sparkle like perhaps it would have 10 to 15 years ago. I Worship Chaos almost sounds like a name that's better suited for a deathcore band or something like that. But we have to give this a try because a couple of things have happened with Children of Bodom that we have to keep in mind. For one, they returned to working with Peter Tagtgren from Hypocrisy for production on this album, which hasn't happened since Follow the Reaper. They used their tuning, which was used on Something Wild in 2 tracks on this album, so that's been about a long time in the making. And finally, they're now a 4-piece, so Alexi is right now handling all guitar duties. They no longer have the effort of a twin killing whenever it comes to that. So a couple things to keep in mind whenever you listen to this disc. So we've already heard some tracks off of this. We've heard songs such as I Hurt or Morrigan. Morrigan, by the way, really solid effort from the guys in Children of Bodom. Very nice with the pacing and everything that is featured on this song. And once again, their sound continues to be enriched whenever they have the opportunity to expand their horizons as opposed to trying to keep things too concise where everything has that potential to get a little bit similar to a lot of their other work, almost as though they're writing from a pre-prescribed formula. Now, whenever you get to Prayer for the Afflicted, track 5 is whenever you start to recognize a couple of things. The first thing that you recognize is the fact that whenever they have about 5 minutes to work with, this band is exceptional. And it's definitely partially because they're just a good band, but also because of Peter's production. This song here sounds like it is a Hypocrisy song that was never on a Hypocrisy album. It just has the tone. It just has the themology behind it from a musical standpoint. And it is almost like whenever this song was being constructed, Pete was right there next to him and kind of guiding them along this process. So in reality, Children of Bodom may have just written a Hypocrisy song. Maybe. Pete, if you're listening to this, you should probably cover this track. I'm sure you guys could just do a phenomenal job with it. It's also a fantastic song. The pacing on this may seem a little bit slow, and it may seem like it's a little bit absent at times of some full, lush musicianship, but then once again, that's because of being a little short-handed in the guitar department. But I still kind of like this for the fact that that production and the overall package is just presented very well. It showcases that Children of Bodom doesn't necessarily have to be all about slinging guitar solos and licks at a certain pace per minute. This is a band that could easily tone things down a little bit and really focus on setting an atmosphere, a groove, and pace, and really still be a successful band. Think of songs that we've heard in the past from this group, such as, I think it's Angels Fall First, that really were able to display this ability. Of course, if I misspoke that name, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm thinking on the fly here. Now, whenever you get into I Worship Chaos, it's just an alright track. Moving into Hold Your Tongue and Suicide Bomber, you, of course, will hear tones that are very reminiscent to the earliest days of Children of Bodom. And this is interesting in the fact that it showcases that change of key really does create a massive difference between the tone of today and the tone of yesteryear. It definitely gives it a little bit of a raw edge, though this is one that's only being supplanted by the fact that they are writing in an even lower key for the remainder of this album, and they've recorded this album in a converted warehouse as opposed to a traditional recording studio, which actually by itself adds a layer of density to some of these songs and really adds a little bit more of a tonal resonance. It's very interesting to hear this in comparison to an album such as Halo of Blood that has a little bit more of a precision to it, whereas this one does have a bit of a more dirty aesthetic, which works very strongly in the band's favor. All for Nothing as a track seems par for the course till you get about 3 minutes in, and then it launches into a keyboard/guitar duel, but in a way that you would not expect. You would maybe expect this to be something where both of these individuals aim to play as quickly as possible or wow you, but instead you have this track in the background that sounds very much like it's Children of Bodom writing a classic hard rock song. Like, all of a sudden they've gone Def Leppard or something like that, and then you have this keyboard and this guitar duel that's occurring over top of this, and it's transfixing. It's something that keeps you exceptionally focused on it. You don't want to look away, or you don't want to take off the headphones. You don't want to skip this track partially because you're thinking to yourself, well, when's the vocals going to come back? When is this pretty cool moment, pretty awesome idea going to be ruined? This idea that kind of blends hard rock with a bit of power metal and kind of drives absent that melodic death metal approach, at least from an instrumental level. And it doesn't happen. For the remainder of the song, you are treated to this instrumental portion, and it's such a great thing to hear. It really is. This is something that brings this album really together for the band in delivering something that's not only different, but also slightly unexpected. It's definitely a good songwriting choice. Now, All for Nothing, or excuse me, not All for Nothing, but the very final track, Widdershins, is one that I think blows a key opportunity. It really had the chance to really end this album on a really strong foot, and I just don't think that it really accomplished that. It's almost like Widdershins and All for Nothing could have been switched on this disc, and to hear All for Nothing at the end of it would have just been an absolutely stellar way to close out this album. Now, on deluxe editions, you're also going to get 3 covers. We're going to get Mistress of Taboo, Danger Zone, yeah, the Kenny Loggins song, as well as Black Winter Day, which is an amorphous cover, and these 3 are all handled very, very nicely. And I have to say that whenever these boys just decide to have a little bit of fun with a song like Danger Zone, the results are almost always going to be universally good, simply because they just really enjoy music. They've been including covers now on bonus editions of their albums for a while. It's just been something that they've really enjoyed. And considering that Mistress of Taboo has a reference to one of their previous members in Stone, it's definitely one to keep in mind. Overall, this album is pretty good. I don't think it really has Halo of Blood level of solidarity to it. I think that there are certainly some tracks that feel a little weaker, and the overall package is one that just isn't quite able to reach up to Halo of Blood's magnificence. That was just a really solid album, and an album that they really needed. However, I still think it's good enough to be an 83 out of 100. It's got solid material that's extremely memorable, and it's tracks such as Prayer for the Afflicted, All for Nothing, and more again. And it also is very cohesively put together by its flow. But I want to know what you think about this disc. What are some of its positives or its negatives? Let me know in the comments below. Tell me what you think about I Worship Chaos by Children of Bodom, which I think was a terrible name for this album. But I can't deduct points for that. Can I? You might. I didn't. But let me know what your score would be. And would you deduct points because of the name? I'm Cover Killer Nation, and I'll talk to you guys later.